Good evening everyone. I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. Now today we'll be discussing important articles from the Indian Express newspaper along with solving the practice questions, both prelims questions as well as mains answer writing questions, so as to inculcate the habit of practicing your knowledge on a daily basis. Now today is 5th of May, 5th of March, sorry, I don't know how this wrong thumbnail was attached to it. Sorry, give me a minute. I think so I've sent a wrong slide here. Give me a second. Good evening everyone. Lydia, Sejal, Augustine, Bagaspings, Yashi, Niranjan. Kesaria, Arya, Shushmita, good evening everyone. What is OMG here? You have written Kesaria. Yeah, now this is the correct slide. Sorry for the inconvenience that it may have caused to you. Now we are looking at the Indian Express analysis for 5th of March. We'll start at today's discussion with 6 articles. The first of these 6 articles is that Navratna status has been extended to 2 central PSUs of railway, that is IRCTC as well as IRFC. Now what is Navratna status? It is a status given to the public sector enterprises of Government of India based on their economic performances, and there are 3 categories. The highest category of PSUs based on their economic performances are called as Maharatna, second is Navratna, then is Miniratna. So we'll be discussing the criteria based on which this Navratna status is given to any CPSE, and this becomes important from GS paper 3 syllabus, that is Indian economy. Then we'll move on to the second article, which discusses 2 voters. They have been having identical EPIC numbers. Now this issue has actually been raised by the current Chief Minister of West Bengal, Ms. Mamta Banerjee, and she has alleged that this is actually voter fraud. So we'll try to analyze what is this EPIC number which is given by Election Commission to the voters, how it is allocated to different voters, and is it possible for 2 voters right now to have identical EPIC number, right? Now this article becomes important from GS paper 2, especially because of the fact that in GS paper 2 you will see all the matters relating to regulation of elections in India, which is actually the prerogative of Election Commission of India. So we'll be discussing that from our today's discussion. Then we'll be moving on to the third article, which highlights right against disability based discrimination. This actually appeared in front of the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has highlighted that disabled, they are having right against disability and they are not to be discriminated solely because these people are disabled. Now this kind of an article becomes important from GS paper 2. As you can understand, disabled people, they form vulnerable section of Indian society, and we need to do everything that we can in order to facilitate their participation in economic processes, in order to facilitate their access to public infrastructure, and that also entails protection to them against right, or giving them the right to protect against the discrimination based on their disability. Now I told you this one is important from GS paper 2 syllabus, that is EPIC numbers. Then we'll be moving on to the 4th article. This again is important from economy perspective because including India, many countries, they are actually involved in a race to secure supplies of copper. Copper is an important metal which are used for electric conductivity purposes, and we understand copper is also used in many gadgets. So securing the supplies of copper is actually very important if you want to become a manufacturing country. Now in recent times we have seen that earlier India was self-sufficient when it came to mining and manufacturing of copper for its own domestic use, but since closing of Sterlite Cooper, which is located in the Tamil Nadu, because of that, India has now become a net importer of copper. So we'll understand all of the trends that are related to production of copper in India, mining of copper in India, which are the states that dominate the mining of copper, and also different countries in the world who are actually the major producers of copper. Now this kind of an article is important from both GS paper 1 perspective, as distribution of key resources is a part of your geography syllabus, whereas GS paper 3, it also deals with the mining, which is a part of economy. Then we'll move on to the environment, which highlights that the meeting of National Board of Wildlife was taking place recently in the Gir National Park in Gujarat, and this was headed by the Prime Minister. Because why? Prime Minister is actually the chairperson of the National Board of Wildlife. So we'll try to understand what are the aims and objectives of this body, what it tries to do, and what are the composition of National Board of Wildlife. Also, we'll try to understand the result of this meeting, what newer developments have been introduced because of this meeting. We'll try to understand in our today's discussion. Now, also we'll be discussing or concluding our discussion with the critical appraisal of Pradhan Ujjwala Yojana. Now, Pradhan Ujjwala Yojana is actually a scheme by Government of India which provides for LPG connections in the Indian household, and how it actually makes time available for women so as to participate in other economic activity. We'll try to understand, and also the effectiveness of this scheme. Okay, so this is important from GS paper 2 syllabus, because schemes for vulnerable section for population and also their performances is a part of GS paper 2 syllabus, that is under governance, right? So this 6th article we are going to cover today. Now, Gibson, good evening. Sir, are all CA videos of 2024 available? See, I started here in December. So from December 4th onwards, 2024, you'll see this session has happened every day, right? Now, as usual, the notes for this session is available on my Telegram channel ATS Live. So you can search the keywords ATS Live on the top right hand corner of your app, and also you can scan the QR code which will take you directly to my Telegram channel, right? So let us start today's discussion, but before that, let us deal with the yesterday's homework question that I gave you. Now, anyone who has the answer to this question that I gave you, consider the following: Bitcoin, Shiba Inu, Ethereum and Dogecoin. How many of the following is or are included in the United States cryptocurrency reserve? Can anyone tell me the correct answer? Please let me know quite quickly so that I can move on. What is the correct answer to this question? Baga Springs, Lydia, Niranjan, anyone? Sejal, Yashi, Shushmita? C. Sejal says C, Niranjan says B. Which one is correct? Please let me know. Anyone else? No, Yashi, no, Sejal, it is not C. Actually, it is B, because Bitcoin and Ethereum are included. Shiba Inu and Dogecoin are not. Please refer to yesterday's notes. You'll get the clarity. Therefore, option B, only 2 is the correct answer. Now, this is the mains question that we will be taking up today, that asks us to critically analyze the impact of Pradhan Ujjwala Yojana on women empowerment and household energy consumption in rural areas. What are its key challenge in ensuring the sustained LPG adoption, and how can they be addressed? That we have to write in today's answer. But the further points for this particular answer will be provided in my today's session in the last discussion only. So please stay tuned for that. With this, we start our today's discussion with this first article which appeared in the explain section. Narsimha, good evening. Yashi, okay. I meant 2 of them. Yes, Baga, you are correct. Lydia, option B is correct. Yes. Now, this first article appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper. Today it is on page 14th, and it states what does actually Navratna status for IRCTC and IRFC mean. Now, why this article appeared in today's newspaper? It was because yesterday the central government has approved the upgradation of Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation, IRCTC, and IRFC, which is Indian Railway Finance Corporation, as country's 25th and 26th Navratna companies. Now, if you're not living under a rock and you must have traveled through railway, you must be knowing this particular company, IRCTC. It is this only company that allows us to book tickets on Indian Railway. How many of you have used IRCTC to book railway tickets? Please let me know in the comments. Now, these 2 companies are actually central PSUs which works under the Ministry of Railways. Now, in total, there are many PSUs under railway, at least 12 of them. However, all 7 now which are listed in the stock markets of India, these central PSUs now have been provided Navratna status, that are Indian Railway PSUs, right? So, total number of PSUs of Indian Railway, these are 12. Out of these, 7 are listed in Indian stock markets, and now all 7 have attained the Navratna status. Now these two big companies, after getting Navratna status, they can make big financial decisions with greater autonomy, and they can also operate internationally without facing many bureaucratic hurdles from the government. These are the benefits of Navratna status. We'll look into detail what are the other benefits also. See, even if you travel first class, you'll have to book your tickets on IRCTC. Shushmita, I have used IRCTC. Sejal, yes. Narsimha, yes. Bhagat Springs, yes. Even I have used IRCTC. Experience is quite mixed, but yes, I have used it. Because you have no other option. Rather than going to the ticket counter and buying it yourself, why don't you book it online itself, right? Kesari is a rich person, I guess. Now, let us understand these two some details about these two PSUs. IRCTC, Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation, it is responsible for railway catering, tourism and online ticketing services. Also, most of the food that are supplies into Indian Railway or in their trains, these are catered and provided by IRCTC. This is actually a central PSU under the Ministry of Railway. Now, Indian Railway Finance Corporation, it is actually functioning as a financial arm of the Indian Railway. It provides funding for infrastructure projects, and you understand railway requires huge amount of funding to laying down of railway lines, to constructing the new railway stations, to buying of rolling stock. All of this requires financing, and it is the IRFC which provides it, right? So these are two big PSUs that are in question today. Now, in terms of classification of PSUs, the government of India classifies PSUs by Indian ministries, any one of them, into three categories, and these three categories are actually classified based on the economic performances, such as what is the profitability of the company, what is the net worth, is that company earning or is in loss, or what are its intersectoral performance, like how it performs as a company as compared to the similar companies in its sector, right? So based on these indicators, the government of India classifies companies into three different types. The biggest or the lowest category for that matter are called as Mini Ratna. Now these are entry level PSUs who are given somewhat limited autonomy. Bigger than Mini Ratnas are Navratna status, right? And Navratna companies are mid-level PSUs who have significant operational and financial independence. And in total, there are 24 PSUs in India who have been categorized as Navratna correctly. And now these two, IRCTC and IRFC, will be 25th and 26th, right? So please keep up to date with this fact. And the biggest and the best of the CPSUs, they are categorized as the Maharatna companies. These are Indian Oil, ONGC, etc. Big performing companies. Now this is the highest category which has the greatest financial and operational autonomy. So in terms of operational autonomy and financial autonomy, Maharatna has the highest autonomy, followed by Navratna, and Mini Ratna has the least amount of autonomy. Understood? So these are the three categories. Now let us understand how can you categorize any company as a Navratna company, and which organization or which department of government of India actually categorizes these companies and gives them the status of Maharatna, Mini Ratna, or Navratna. It is actually the Department of Public Enterprises, which is a part of Ministry of Finance. Now it categorizes a company, for example, a Navratna status, based on 6 indicators, and these indicators are ratio of net profit to net worth. That is, it compares the net worth of the company and how much profit it is producing with respect to its net worth, right? So it does not mean that the company is generating profit just. It is not just considered. You have to consider the profit with respect to its net worth. The ratio of manpower cost to total cost of production of services also is considered. So does ratio of profit before depreciation, interest and tax, which is known as PBDIT, or capital employed or return on capital employed. Also, ratio of profit before taxation or turnover is also considered. So does earning per share and intersectoral performance of the company. So all of these 6 indicators are categorized, and these are understood in order to give the status of a Navratna company to any company. Now these indicators, they do not carry equal weight. You have to understand these indicators, they carry different weights. For example, 10 weight is given to earnings per share, whereas 25 weight is categorized for ratio of net profit to net worth. And when you add all of these weights, give me a second. Now when different weights to different categories, right? And when you combine all of these weights, so the score that you get, that score is determining whether you get Maharatna status, Mini Ratna status, right? So if a CPSC has composite score of 60 or higher, combining all of these 6 indicators, then the company is getting the Navratna status. Also, this company has to obtain an excellent or a very good MOU rating in the last 3 of the 5 years that it has functioned. In that case, these are provided as Navratna status. Understood? Latest railway app is Swarel. Yes, Swarel also uses the infrastructure of IRCTC. So it is actually the prerogative of IRCTC to book tickets on the Indian Railway through online mode. Kaizen, good evening. So these are how a company gets Navratna status. Now, what are the benefits of Navratna status that you might be wondering? First of all is the higher financial autonomy. Now, PSUs, they can invest up to 1000 crore or 15% of their net worth, whichever is low, in one single project without having to seek approval from the central government. So this is the first autonomy given to the Navratna status company. Also, they have operational freedom. They can form joint ventures with another companies, they can form alliances, and also can hive off their subsidiaries independently without having the need to consult or take permission from the central government. Also, they have higher recognition and growth potential because you're giving them the higher status now. So you can understand this signifies to the market that this company is well performing, and when a company is well performing, its chances to get finances from other sources like capital investment from foreign investors, it automatically increases. So this company gains highest market credibility. Also, they get opportunities for expansion and diversification, and also foreign investment can be sought in these companies. So these are the benefits of the Navratna status. Understood? Any doubts in Navratna status? Now, please solve this question. Consider the following statements regarding Navratna companies in India. All Mini Ratna PSCs are eligible to be categorized as a Navratna company. Is it correct? The answer is obviously not, because there are 6 indicators based on which any company can be categorized as the Navratna status. So technically not all Mini Ratnas, but only the best performing ones that qualify the score which has been put up by the government, only they can get the benefits of Navratna status. Now, Navratna companies, they enjoy full financial autonomy in all investment decisions, including entering joint ventures and forming subsidiaries. Now, please pay close attention to this word, full financial autonomy. Is it full financial autonomy? The answer is no. It is financial autonomy, but it is limited by some figures, right? What is this figure? That they can invest up to 1000 crore or 15% of the net worth without permission. Has it been they can invest any amount? Then that would have been full autonomous or full financial autonomy. So therefore, second statement also becomes incorrect, because it is rather limited, although enhanced, but limited financial autonomy. Now, the third statement, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, it is responsible for granting Navratna status to eligible PSUs. This is also incorrect, because it is Ministry of Finance, especially the Department of Public Enterprises, right? So third statement, second and first, all of these 3 are incorrect, and we have to identify what? Incorrect statement. Please reread the question. There is a possibility whenever you are appearing for prelims, the amount of tension and stress is so high in your mind that you sometimes overlook the questions, right? So please make it a habit of rereading the questions. It says you have to mark the incorrect answer, right? So all these 3 are incorrect. Therefore, option D, 1, 2 and 3 is the right answer. Yes, Lydia, Yashi, Shushmita, Kesaria, Baga Spinks, all of you are right. Good evening, Rishav. Sejal, yes, you're right. Yashi, no bola tha. Kya no bola tha? Please let me know. Now moving to the next article, this also appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about the CM of West Bengal, Miss Mamta Banerjee. What Miss Mamta Banerjee has done, that she has flagged several electoral electors, that she has highlighted that many electors in India, they have identical EPIC numbers, and while doing so, she has alleged that the ruling party in India, BJP, is actually involved in voter fraud. So is it true that are Indian political parties involved in voter fraud, or it is just a political allegation? So we'll try to look into it. Please do not pay attention to what politician says. We'll go into fact in understanding how or what EPICs are, how these numbers are allocated, or is it a possibility of actually two people having identical EPIC numbers, right? So in our today's discussion, first of all, let us understand what are these electoral photo identity cards, abbreviated as EPICs. Now these, as the name suggests, this is an identification document for voters. For example, all of you must be 18 years of age and you might be having this kind of an EPIC, right? It has your photograph and your details like your name and father's name. Also, it has the voter ID number. So this is actually the voter ID number. Okay, so this is actually nothing but an electoral identification card for voters, that they have to show it that they are actually the voter, and then only they'll be allowed to give vote. Now this was introduced as per the provisions of registration of electoral rule 1960, and the issuance of these cards, they began in 1993. And what was the intention of such issuing such cards is to prevent impersonation of people, right? So suppose if I go and submit my ID card, but if I want to give vote under your name, is it possible with this card? No, right? Because I've shown my identification. Then only if my name matches in the name of electoral rolls, then only I'll be permitted to give the vote, right? Now let us understand some facts about EPICs. Now what, these are issued only to registered electors in a country, right? And also having this card itself does not grant you the right to vote. Rather, only when you are having this card and your name is there in the electoral roll, then only you are be allowed to give vote. So first of all, you will have to have an EPIC card, and also your name has to be there in the electoral roll. And only when these two conditions are satisfied, then only you can actually give your vote in India, right? Now this EPIC, it contains name, age, address, voter particulars, photograph, and also the signature of the registration officer. So basically this is this card I am talking about today. Now let us understand how these EPICs are issued. First of all, each EPIC which is issued now, they have a unique number. Now this number, it consists of 3 alphabetical codes which is followed by a 7-digit number. Now it also includes a functional unique serial number FUSN for each assembly constituency. So suppose if you are a registered voter in Delhi, your particular assembly constituency, that name will be there or that number will be there followed by a unique number, right? So this is a unique number EPIC which is given to every electoral. Now since 2017, these EPICs have been issued using the Aeronet portal of the Election Commission of India, and the rules suggest that a unique EPIC number is assigned whenever the elector receives their first EPIC. But however, in case you misplace your EPIC or it is being theft, then in that case this EPIC is replaced with the same number is retained, right? So for the first time, whenever an EPIC will be issued to you, it will have a unique number, but since if you have misplaced that particular card, a new card will be issued having the same EPIC number, but it will be only in your name. Okay. Now regarding the allegation of Ms. Mamta Banerjee, what the Election Commission of India has given certain clarification. Now it highlighted that it is actually possible for duplication, because actually before this portal system was enacted, the different states, they used to give same alphanumeric series for their EPIC numbers. So that case, before Aeronet portal was there, so in that case some of the voters, they might have same EPIC numbers across the state, but you have to understand, despite having the same EPIC number, the other details like their name, addresses, constituency and polling booth, they will be quite different. So actually having a duplicate or same number EPIC does not allow cross voting, because if a voter suppose is registered in Chandigarh, they won't be allowed to give vote with same EPIC number in West Bengal, because your name, your constituency and even the polling booth which are mentioned in your EPIC will be different. So understood? So technically before 2017, it is a possibility that two EPIC numbers will have same number. However, in that case, other details will be different, and therefore this does not have the possibility of allowing cross vote. Understood? This was what the Election Commission of India has clarified. Now let us solve this particular question. Consider the following statements regarding the electors photo identity card EPIC in India. This EPIC was introduced under RPA 1951 to prevent voter impersonation. This is incorrect. As I told you even earlier, this card was issued under the registration of electoral rules 1960 and not the Representation of People Act 1951. Moving to the second statement, holding an EPIC automatically grants an individual the right to vote in election. What did I tell you about right to vote in election? It is not that you just hold EPIC number or card, it will give you the right. Rather, your name should also be mentioned in the electoral roll, and only when these two conditions satisfied, then only you'll have the right to vote. So second statement also becomes incorrect. Now EPIC, it contains details like voter's name, age, addresses, voter particulars, photograph and signature of registration officer. This is actually a straightforward statement and a correct statement, therefore third is right. First and second is wrong. We have to identify correct statement, only third is right. So option C is the right answer. Baga Spinks, Narsimha, Yashi, yes, you're right. Sejal, Ashil, you're right. Namaskar, Doraemon. What is your name, Doraemon? I find it quite funny to address you with the name of a cartoon serial, right? Or an anime. Sorry for that mistake. Okay, so let us move to the another article. This article actually appeared in the Indian Express newspaper yesterday. Now this article highlights that the Supreme Court of India has actually said that it is now a time to recognize right against disability as a part of fundamental right. Now why is actually Supreme Court saying this? Because Supreme Court is considering a slew of petitions that was filed to it related to admissions or eligibility of persons to become a judge or a member of judiciary, right? And in that case, many people in MP, they felt that they have been discriminated against just because they are disabled or physically disabled, right? So in that regard, Supreme Court has given certain observations, right? It has said that visually impaired candidates, they are eligible to participate in selections of posts under the judicial service, right? And it has said that now is the time to recognize right against disability discrimination as a part of fundamental right. So we'll try to understand the nuances of this judgment. Now let us first understand what did the Supreme Court actually say about it. Now Supreme Court has highlighted that there are cases when people, they have given so much to Indian judiciary despite the fact that they are disabled. There are individuals in the legal profession who have demonstrated that even despite having disability, even despite having visual impairment, it is actually not a barrier in achieving professional excellence, because even that they have competed on equal footing with people who do not have disability, and even that they have contributed significantly in the justice delivery system. So actually only thing that matters when you're hiring a person in judiciary is their qualification and is their mental aptitude and not their physical aptitude, because judiciary, unlike police or armed forces, it does not require you to physically give judgment, right? You can even sit on a chair and write the judgment. So how does actually a physical disability should come in a way of you getting a job in the judiciary, right? And overall analysis by the Supreme Court, it demonstrates that a right based approach necessitates that the people having disabilities, they should not and must not face any discrimination, and doing so, they should be actually involved in pursuing or delivering the justice. So this is the key observation of Supreme Court. Now what you have to understand, that Supreme Court actually recognized what is called as principle of reasonable accommodation. Now this principle of reasonable accommodation, it is not just enshrined in the Indian Constitution in one form or the other, but it is also there in international conventions, established jurisprudence, and also in the Right to People with Disabilities Act of 2016. And this principle of reasonable accommodation, it mandates that you need to accommodate the people with disabilities, and you have to provide them with conditions so that they can access the public resources. Also, you have to make sure that their eligibility, it is not affected just because of the fact that they are disabled. If they are educationally qualified, if they are mentally sound, then they should be allowed to file for the job application, and their job application should be actively considered as on an equal footing to normal people, right? Now the principle of this reasonable recommendation, it requires that both state agencies and also the private companies, they provide additional support to people who are disabilities. And what are these additional support? For example, you have to include physical adjustments like ramps, technological aids. As you can see, even if you go to a bank, there might be a particular ramp which will enable a person who might be on a wheelchair to access that public infrastructure. Similarly, in metro trains, in your public buses, you will find that it is quite easy for people even with wheelchair to get into those trains and buses. So this is how you create necessary infrastructure which will facilitate even people with disability to access those resources. Also, you can include modifications in job requirement and policies. For example, if there is a blind person, you can accommodate him with providing braille script. You can provide them with technological tools, hearing aids, so that their disability does not come in between of them doing their job, right? So this is what principle of reasonable accommodation is. Now, what is the current status of right against disability-based discrimination? Now, right against disability-based discrimination, it is recognized in the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016. So, therefore, this right is stemming from a statute of Indian Parliament. Therefore, it is a statutory and a legal right. Whereas currently, it is not a fundamental right. Please pay close attention to it. And the Supreme Court in its judgment has said that it is time to make it a fundamental right. But even today, it has not been given the status of fundamental right. Rather, it is a statutory right. But the question is, what are the benefits of any right being included as a part of fundamental right, right? You have to understand statutory legal right, the status of fundamental right is higher than statutory legal right. So in that case, let us understand what is the difference between these two kind of rights. Now, as you can see, the statutory or fundamental right, these are directly enshrined in the Constitution, particularly in the Part 3. Whereas the legal right, they gain their recognition from any law that might be passed by the legislature, particularly the Indian Parliament. So in the nature of these rights, the fundamental rights, these are considered very essential for human being, and sometimes these are also the very part of the basic structure of the Constitution. Whereas on the other hand, the legal rights, they have rights which are granted by specific statutes and they are applicable only in particular situations and groups. Whereas fundamental right, they are available to all persons in the country just because of the fact that it is written in the Constitution. Now, the main difference between legal right and fundamental right is in the matter of enforcement. Suppose if there is a fundamental right and it is getting violated, so you can approach the Supreme Court and High Court directly under Article 32 and Article 226 of the Indian Constitution. Whereas in case of violation of a legal right, you can go to court, but you can't go directly to Supreme Court and High Court. Rather, you have to go to the lowest court in order to enforce that particular right. So this is the key difference between legal right and fundamental right, and why is actually fundamental right on a higher pedestal as compared to legal right. As coming to amendability, you can understand this is a part of fundamental right given in the Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Therefore, you can't just amend it as easily. You rather have to take or make amendments in the Constitution. So when it comes to amending fundamental right, it is difficult as compared to legal right, because you can directly amend the laws from which these legal rights might be amended, and this is easier as compared to amendment to the Constitution. Now, what are the examples or other examples? For example, right to equality, freedom of speech and expression, right against exploitation, these are examples of fundamental right. Whereas right to property, right to file an FIR, right to claim refund, these are a part of legal right. Understood the difference? Now, let us see if you can solve this question. This question I have curated directly. A question appeared on right to vote in 2016. Right to vote is what? So I have changed that question again, saying right against disability based discrimination is what? Please let me know. Sound ko kya hua? Is the sound okay? Now answer this quickly, please. Sejal, everyone, Baga, Shushmita, Yashi says D, others. Yes, all of you are right. Option D is correct, legal right. Now, as I tell you every day, right? Suppose if you have problems in understanding concepts of polity, economy, IR, because in our daily sessions, I can only explain you something about those concepts because I am restricted with time, right? So in that case, if you are having problems in understanding the basic concepts of UPSC syllabus, you have an option to register for courses under the Sampoorn batch of the StudyIQ. Now, to access these batches or to get admissions in these batches, what you can do is go to our website, create an account separately and click on explore courses. Now, suppose there's a possibility that the students watching this might not be comfortable with Hindi, or for the fact that Hindi might not be the mother tongue. So for that, students, we also know that their limitation in understanding Hindi, and therefore we are providing exclusive batches even in English under the Sampoorn courses. Now if you click on this tile here, UPSC IAS English, the first tile will take you to 2026 Sampoorn batch, admissions for which is currently ongoing right now. Now there is a discount on the courses that are available now. Currently it is available at 36,249 rupees, but by using the code which is given or that might be appearing on the bottom half of your screen, you can get further discounts on this course, and let me explain it to you how. Click on buy now. Now there is an option to add promo code here. Click on add promo code, enter coupon code and write ATS live, right? The same code which is appearing on the bottom half of your screen, and click apply. As soon as you click on apply, see the value of the course from 36,249 has reduced to 28,999. That is discount of 7,249 rupees, which is a huge amount of money, right? So please make sure to register for those courses, and do not forget to add the code ATS live to save your hard-earned money, right? Now let us get back to our session with this next article that appeared in the business page of the Indian Express on page 13, and it states that many countries are actually involved in a race to secure the resource of copper. And it also decodes the recent moves of countries like India, China and US. Now on February 27th, Indian government, it announced that it has secured a 9,000 square kilometer block to explore copper and cobalt in the region of Zambia, which is known for its high grade deposits. Now as you can understand, the production in India's domestic mines, it is reducing day by day, and therefore India needs to secure the supplies of copper, and for that it has actually secured rightfully a block in country of Zambia, which is located in Africa. So therefore it is crucial step for India to establish overseas presence and mining of critical resources, particularly in the countries like Africa. Now let us understand few details about copper, right? Copper, it is a good conductor of electricity, and it is also ductile in nature. What is ductility? Whenever a metal you can make them in form of wires, that is called as ductility. Similarly, if it has been malleable, that means you can beat that metal in forming sheets. For example, aluminum is a malleable material that you can make sheets out of aluminum. Similarly, you can make wires out of copper, therefore it is a ductile material. Now it is used in many cases, for example in automobiles, in defense industries, also in electrical industries, in making wires, electric motors, transformers, generators. All of this is a wide application of copper. Now in terms of reserves and production worldwide, you have to understand the highest reserve of copper is located in the country of Chile, which is in Latin America or South America, followed by Democratic Republic of Congo, Peru and China. Whereas this was reserves. Now let us consider production of the copper worldwide. Here also Chile leads, but on second is Australia, followed by Peru and Russia. So Chile is both having the highest reserve and highest production, whereas in terms of production, Australia comes second after Chile and not Congo. Congo has the second reserve, not in terms of production. Now India, or what are the reserves of copper in India? Now I told you, right, India has a bad luck when it comes to securing natural resources, be it crude oil, be it natural gas. India does not have enough of it. Now India also has presence of copper, but that copper is actually low grade copper. So in terms of copper reserves in India, total reserve, it is expected around 46 million tons, and states with highest amount of reserve, the highest amount of reserve is in Rajasthan, which actually has 50% of total copper available in the country, followed by Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. Now let us consider production of copper in India. In terms of production, first state is Madhya Pradesh, not Rajasthan, primarily in Malajkhand and Balaghat mines. Second is Rajasthan, it is Khetri, Sangam belt and Jhunjhunu district, and whereas third is Jharkhand, that is in the Singhbhum region. So these are the top three producers of copper in India. First is Madhya Pradesh, followed by Rajasthan, then Jharkhand. Now copper and its reserves and production in India, you have to understand that in the past few years, the production of copper is on a decline. Now in 2023 and 24, the production of copper in India was about 3.78 million tons, which is actually has reduced by 8% from 2018 and 19. Now in India, the company which is responsible for sole domestic supply of copper or mining of copper, that is Hindustan Copper Limited, which again is a PSU, it reported a 6% decline in the production from April 2023 to January 2024. And earlier, India was a net manufacturer of copper, as it was not required to import any copper because through its domestic manufacturing itself it was able to take care of its domestic demand. But since many years back, this Sterlite Cooper facility, which is located in Tamil Nadu, it closed because of many environmental related protests, and because of closure of this plant, India has now become a net importer of copper. And as you can see from this stat, India's import of copper has actually doubled in recent years, and its import actually values right now to about 26,000 crore rupees as compared to 2018-19. So this was one of the consequences, that although you understand taking care of the environment is necessary, but you have to balance your environmental concerns with your economic concerns, right? So these two concerns go hand in hand. You do not have to take one concern and ignore another, right? Now, let us understand what is Africa's role in the share of mineral production, particularly in respect to many important minerals. As I told you, right, China is in a process of securing many mines in Africa to get control of critical minerals. Similarly, traditional minerals like copper also, these are also available abundantly in Africa. Africa is becoming a major producer of critical minerals. For example, cobalt, 70% of global production of cobalt, it comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Whereas for copper, 16% of global production comes from Africa. And Democratic Republic of Congo, it is expected to be world's second largest copper producer by 2030. So Africa is making giant strides and leap forward in manufacturing of important materials. Now, what is Zambia's role in this regard? Because India has secured a mine in Zambia, it is 7th largest copper producer globally. So therefore, securing supplies in such countries are very important for countries like India. Now, in this regard, let us solve this particular question. Chile has the highest copper reserves in the world, followed by DRC, Peru and China. This is correct statement. As I told you, in terms of reserves, Chile has the highest, also in terms of production, but when it comes to having reserves, second country is the DRC Congo. Now in India, Rajasthan has the highest copper production, followed by Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. What did I tell you about copper production in India? Does Rajasthan have highest copper production? The answer is no. It is actually MP. Rajasthan has the highest amount of copper reserves in India, not production wise. In production, Rajasthan is second. Now, Malaj Khand and Balaghat in Madhya Pradesh are among the copper mines in India. This is a correct statement. As I told you, this is directly taken from our today's discussion. Second is incorrect. First and third is right. Whichever is correct, option B is the right answer. Bharat Kalor, sir, please लास्ट में क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करिए, हम खुद से लिखते हैं, चेक करने में सहायता होगी. ओके, नरसिम्हा मूर्ति बी, सेजल बी, यशी यस, ऑल ऑफ यू आर राइट. Lydia also, you're correct. Now, let us move to the next article. This article appeared on the front page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it tells us that the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, actually took his first meeting of the National Board of Wildlife, and this happened in the Gir National Park located in the Junagadh district of Gujarat. Now, what is Gir National Park known for? It is known for lions in India, right? Now, let us understand main details about the National Board of Wildlife. This is actually a statutory body which was formed under the provisions of Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and it comprises of Prime Minister of India, who acts as the chairperson of National Board of Wildlife. The vice chairperson of the National Board of Wildlife is the Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and other members of this committee is 47 members, includes 3 MPs, 2 from Lok Sabha and 1 from Rajya Sabha. So this is how the composition of National Board of Wildlife is. Now, to undertake the day-to-day functioning of National Board of Wildlife and to discharge its functions, there is a standing committee of National Board of Wildlife which is chaired by the Union Minister of Environment and Forest Climate Change. Now, this standing committee, it actually meets once every 3 months, whereas National Board of Wildlife, it has low amount of meetings, right? So the overall work of this committee actually is done by the Standing Committee of Wildlife. Now, the major role of National Board of Wildlife is actually that no alteration in boundaries of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries can actually be done without the approval or explicit permission of the National Board of Wildlife. So this is the most significant function and power of National Board of Wildlife. Now let us understand what are the key important announcements that were made in this particular meeting of the National Board of Wildlife, which was chaired by the Prime Minister of India. Now, India actually has introduced cheetah in Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Now it is trying to expand this presence of cheetah under the Project Cheetah. Now the new locations for cheetah introductions have been finalized. That is Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary located in Madhya Pradesh, and also Banni Grassland, which is located in Gujarat. Now Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary I've covered in our previous discussions also, and if a particular article appears on Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary, I'll cover it again, need not worry. Now it also deals with Project Lion, which is a 2,900 crore project, and it aims to increase the range of Asiatic lions across Saurashtrian region. As I told you, Asiatic lions are primarily present in Gir National Park, which is located in Saurashtra. So you need to increase the presence of Asiatic lions in the region of Saurashtra. Therefore, for that, Project Lion. Now the next population estimation of the Asiatic lion, it will begin in May 2025, and it is done once every 5 years. Last one was done in 2020. So therefore you need funds for that, which is provided under the Project Lion. Also, the new wildlife conservation initiatives have been brought by Government of India. That is project for Ghadial conservation. Ghadial, we did it 2 days back, I guess. It launched a project to protect the dwindling population of Ghadial. What is the status of Ghadial? It is critically endangered species as per the IUCN status, right? Now, National Great Indian Bustard, also critically endangered species conservation plan is also covered, and the new scheme for conservation of tigers outside the Tigers Reserve will also be taking place. Further, the establishment of Center for Human Wildlife Conflict Management will be set up in the Salim Ali Center for Ornithology, which is located in the city of Coimbatore of Tamil Nadu, right? Also, the last announcements were related to laying down a foundation stone for National Referral Center of Wildlife in Junagadh, and it will act as India's hub for wildlife health and disease management, and also the use of technology such as artificial intelligence, remote sensing and geospatial mapping for conservation. And this is done primarily to undertake fire forest prevention and also human animal conflict management. Understood? So these are the key announcements made as per the meeting of National Board of Wildlife. Now, please solve this particular question. Consider the following statements regarding National Board of Wildlife. It was constituted in 2003 as a statutory body under Wildlife Protection Act. First statement is correct. The second statement, Standing Committee of NBWL, chaired by the Prime Minister, meets every 3 months to review and approve the projects in protected area. Now, NBWL is chaired by Prime Minister of India, whereas Standing Committee of NBWL, it is chaired by Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Understood? So second statement becomes incorrect. First was right. We have to identify correct statement. Therefore, option A is the right answer. Narsimha, you are correct. Anyone else? You did not come up with the answer, everyone? Yes, Lydia, you are correct. Now moving to the last article of the day. This article appeared in the op-ed section of the Indian Express, and now this big article written by the person, Miss Farzana Afridi, she actually highlights the achievements and shortcomings of the important government scheme, that is the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Now, a survey in the rural area of Indore was conducted, and it highlighted the linkages between time saving in domestic work of women and women's participation in the workforce, and it also assesses the impact of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana in how does it save time for women to leave or to make available time for women for their economic participation, right? So in this regard, let us understand first of all, what is this Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana? It is a scheme by the Government of India which provides clean cooking fuel, that is supplies of LPG to the rural household. As there were assessed that many rural households in India, they were using traditional methods of cooking like burning stove or anything else rather than using LPG, which was not clean in nature. So as to enable women to save their time, reduce their dependence on solid fuels like firewood and cow dung, this scheme was brought. And women in rural India, it was before this introduction of scheme, they spent over 40 hours per week on cooking and cleaning with traditional chulhas, increasing time, which increases their time on collection of fuel and also in cooking. Now I understand this traditional chulhas also emit large amount of smoke, which is again harmful for women's health, right? So the intention of this scheme was not just to provide clean fuel, but also provide them with better health and also save their time in which otherwise would have been used to collect the firewood and fuel, right? So this is what Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana was all about. Now let us understand the impact of this scheme. Now the impact of the scheme is that it reduces the amount of time that women might spend in collection of the fuel. That households using LPG, they on an average save about 30 minutes per day of their time in cooking compared to those using solid fuels. And this saving in time is result out of not doing dung collection, not undertaking firewood collection and other domestic work, which reduces the time on an average by 30 minutes every day. Okay. Now, in terms of adoption of LPG, although the connections of LPG and the first cylinder was provided to women under PM Ujjwala Yojana, however, it has been assessed that there is a low adoption of LPG for regular use. While it successfully provided with the first cylinder and LPG connection, however, when it comes to continuation of using this LPG for the cooking purposes, we have seen it has not continued as it was originally desired because of many factors. First of all, LPG has higher cost as compared to traditional fuels. Many women in rural area, they can secure the firewood or cow dungs for free. Rather, you have to pay a hefty amount to get an LPG cylinder. Also, preferences for traditional cooking methods also is there in the rural areas, because many people, although patriarchal in nature, they say that खाने में मजा नहीं आ रहा just because it has been cooked over LPG. And while it has been cooked over traditional chulhas, they say that is very good in taste. Also, there is lack of awareness in rural areas, particularly related to health hazard of indoor pollution that might be the result of traditional cooking methods like burning firewood and cow dung, right? So that emits large amount of smoke, which is actually harmful for the health of a person who are located indoors, and the amount of awareness currently is not that much. So these are the reasons why there is no continued use of LPG in India. Now, despite such significant amount of saving in time, it has been assessed by this particular survey that this does not actually increase women's participation in the workforce. Now, there are many reasons to it. First of all, that the amount of time which is saved on a daily basis, that is 30 minutes per day, is actually quite low, because how can women participate in a work for about 30 minutes every day, right? Also, in rural areas, there is very limited employment opportunities. For example, high skilled employment opportunities or flexible work timings, these are not available in rural areas. So therefore, total employment opportunities for women particularly, they are absent. Also, when it comes to the value of women's time, it is quite low. As you can understand, the estimated economic value of the time that woman has for about 30 minutes every day, it just will enable the woman to earn about 5% of the rural household income, which is quite less. So therefore, this 30 minutes per day's time, in terms of economic value also, it is quite less. Further, the decision making power in rural households, it particularly lies with men. So therefore, it is actually men who are making the decision whether to continue using LPG or to rely or revert back to the traditional cooking methods. And this we can understand that the refill rates of LPG technically should be 12 cylinders every year but rather it is just 3 refills every year. So this highlights that the continuation of LPG has not gone as it was originally envisaged. So these are the shortcomings of the scheme, right? Now, in this regard, let us understand what can be done in order to improve the adoption of LPG in order to save more time for women, right? For that, we need to enhance the LPG's affordability, as subsidies and lower cost refill options can be provided. Subsidies can be increased on LPG so as to make it affordable for rural people, and also the lower refill cost, like bringing smaller cylinders, will help rural people to actually refill their LPGs at a lower cost. Also, we need to raise awareness, particularly in rural areas, regarding the harmful effect of the smoke from traditional method of cooking can result to a woman in general. And when women will be aware of the health risk, they'll be quite afraid to move back to the traditional cooking methods. Also, we need to encourage women's employment by creating flexible home-based work opportunities. We can give women financing so as to start their own daily enterprise, which will help not just make women more participate in the economic workforce, but it will also give women the power over having a better say in their household decision making. Also, there is a need for increasing women in the decision making power, and for that we need to encourage, or we need to provide subsidies not on cylinders, but rather we can transfer the subsidy directly into the bank account of women. So only women can make the decisions of whether to purchase LPG or not, and not the men in their household, right? So these are the suggestions that can be incorporated in order to make the schemes more effective and efficient, right? So please try to attempt this answer. Let me know if you can write this answer. If you have any doubt, you can contact me in the Telegram group. You have to ideally divide your answer into 3 parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. In the body, please critically analyze the scheme, suggest some benefits also that I've told you in the class, and also address the shortcomings. Now, most of the answers that are submitted to me, they are very good in quality, and I've also seen their improvement from the past few days because they're continuously writing the answers. And also, the people who are afraid of writing the answers, please do not be afraid. Please start writing your answers, and believe me, when you go and attempt the mains examination, you will be thanking me for this. Please do not forget to write this answer. This is my humble request from all. Now the answers can be submitted on this group ATS live, and the answers which will be submitted before 8 p.m. I will be evaluating them. Okay. And this is your practice question of the day. This is actually a PYQ from the year 2023. Please let me know the correct answer in the comment section. And also, if you haven't still, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up. It helps me keep motivated and also helps our content reach more aspirants like you. Okay. So this was all from my side for today. I'll see you again tomorrow at